This is a 2000 Acura Integra Type R, and one of the first Type R trims that we received in the US. In this video, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of some of the features specific to the Type R. I'm going to weigh this thing also because I'm curious to know how much it weighs too. I'll also provide some quarter-mile performance and give you my driving impressions. Enjoy the video. What's up guys? Here it is, the holy grail of Japanese front-wheel drive performance cars, the Acura Integra Type R. This is no ordinary USDM Acura Integra Type R. Just a note, I'm going to touch on most of the major components that were done to this car. If you're going to scrutinize me on each minute detail, such as the amount of thread counts on each seat or the amount of weaves that were done to a carbon fiber panel piece, then so be it. Let's start this review. Let's start off with the front end. For those that don't know, we did not get this front end in the US. This is an actual Japanese Integra Type R conversion that was done to this car. The Japanese Integra Type R has these types of headlight housings, and if you look right into the housings, in the back of the housing, they're actually blacked out. Also notice that it has the Type R lip underneath the front bumper. Going to the wheels, we did not get this style in the US. These are 16 inches with a 5x114 bolt pattern. The brakes are also larger on the Integra Type R compared to the LS or GSR. Onto the sides of the car, and as you can see, it has the Japanese Integra Type R side skirts installed on it. Going to the rear, you can see it has a brake light cutout like those found on European models. It also has the Integra Type R lower lips. Notice that Type Rs did not receive moonroofs or sunroofs, and that was to reduce weight and increase rigidity. Now let's take a look at the engine bay. Here it is. The most distinct feature in the Type R's engine bay is the red valve cover, because you know red means deadly. Let's take a look at the simple mods that's been done to this car. It has an AEM cold air intake that goes down into the wheel well over here on this side, and it also has, I believe, some eBay headers, some tri-wise. To distinguish between the B series family of motors, especially the Type R motor, you can find out right here. It says B18C, which is the Integra Type R motor. The US version received the B18C5. This motor right here is from a Japanese Integra Type R. One of the other unique features to the Integra Type R is that it came with a factory limited slip differential. Sometimes you can tell and sometimes you can't. In this case, we can because it's stamped right onto the transmission housing. Right there, LSD. This one also has foul electric fans to help with cooling. The Type R didn't just rely on the motor though, it did receive features in the chassis to make it stiffer. Let's take a look at what we can see. Starting off in the engine bay, you can see it has a strut tower brace to stiffen up the front end and shock towers. In the trunk, you can see the rear strut tower brace to stiffen up the shock towers. It also has a brace to stiffen up the rear. One thing I noticed, guys, the carpet back here is super light. Look, I mean, it just tosses right over. Notice that there's also no insulation on it. And I think the spare tire is back here. Yeah, okay, spare tire, crossbar, and jack. It also has a brace in the rear to stiffen up the subframe. Notice that the rear lower control arm and shocks are different from the other Integra models. I had to pull it out of my garage because there's better lighting outside. So starting off with the door panels, there's some carbon fiber accents. There are Type R floor mats right there. And over there, also rear Type R floor mats. And you can see the infamous Recaros that were used in the Type Rs throughout the years. They've since stopped using them though. We have the Type R steering wheel and a 8,400 RPM red line. Looking at the center console, you can see the carbon fiber accents and the Type R deck. The Type R also had weight reduction done to it, so let's find out how much it weighs. Let's see how light this thing is, but first, let's take a look at how much gas is in the fuel tank. You can see right there, we have a full tank of gas. How much do you guys think it weighs? Because remember, the Type R was the race version, which was supposed to be lighter. And we have, dun 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 dun, 2,606 pounds, and you can see the weight distributions right above it. Was your guess on the weight close, or was it way off? It weighed in at a little above 2,600 pounds with a full tank of gas. Now remember, if you pumped it halfway or a quarter way, it would drop below 2,600 pounds. Now it's time for the drive. I remember when the Acura Integra Type R came out, it was every JDM fanboy's wet dream. We didn't get the Subaru WRX STI, Mitsubishi Evolution, or the Skyline GTR, but we did get the Mazda RX-7, which discontinued in '95, and the 300ZX Twin Turbo, which discontinued in '96, and then the Supra Twin Turbo, which discontinued in '98, but it was way too expensive. The Acura Integra Type R came out in '97 and sold until '98, and then we didn't see one in '99, but it reappeared in 2000 and 2001. And we haven't seen a Type R since until 2017, where we just recently received the Civic Type R. My driving impressions so far are really good. The seats are really well bolstered and keep me locked in. The steering wheel is a little vague, and that may be because I've driven an Evo or my GTR before, and it feels much tighter in those cars. I love the field of view because the transverse engine layout makes the front end really short. As far as blind spots go, it's not too bad because there's actual windows right beside the back seat where I can look out and see if there's cars beside me. This car is not designed for cruising on the highway because of its shorter gearing. First gear is the same as the GSR, but second, third, and fourth are much shorter, and the final drive also does not help out. For example, when I was at 4,000 RPM on the highway in fifth gear, I was at 118 kilometers per hour. Suspension-wise, this Type R no longer has its factory suspension. It is lowered with lowering springs and adjustable shocks though. As far as the chassis goes, it does flex and vibrate all over the place, even though Honda did try to make it as stiff as possible. Let's go. VTEC kicks in at 6,000 and it sounds really violent. Turning wise, it's pretty responsive too. Let's go into this corner. VTEC's kicking in right there. Gotta hold it. The straight's coming up ahead. Brakes could be better. I would probably put better pads in there if it was me. Straight away. Here we go. 8,500. The chassis turns really well with the suspension. The steering wheel is very light, so it's not like I'm fighting the steering wheel to turn. It feels as though I need more road because of the higher RPM. But the LSD really helps out through these corners. I mean, it feels really nimble too. Look at how nimble it is. Wow. That was such a fun experience. It's like you're just looking to find that excuse to try to get into the VTEC power band. Wow. If you haven't experienced VTEC, you need to go out and experience it because it is quite the technology. I know that some people are anti-VTEC or anti-Honda or whatnot, but if you apply the technology to even like a V12 or a V8, it would still benefit that engine because it allows the power band to travel all the way to redline. Now the question is, would you go back and buy the Acura Integra Type R, or would you spend the extra and buy the current Civic Type R? That's a tough question, because you can't beat the original. This offers you everything because it is the original, the rawness, the VTEC, everything. But the Civic Type R, which I haven't driven yet, I would assume is more refined. And obviously it's more powerful, but what are you really looking for? Are you looking for rawness, or are you looking for refinement? That's really a tough question. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Working hard in the Type R, flash the beams with the windows black, emblem jack, racing in the thing.
B18 C5 VTEC, baby, yeah, we doing it live. If it ain't a Type R, then it ain't a Type car. If it ain't a Type car, then it ain't a Type R.